Laan wanted to be a prima ballerina. Spock has read a considerable amount of Roger Corby's papers on archaeological medicine, and Captain Pike has a rehydrator in his quarters. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton.
Hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk. I love him in green, by the way. And today we're doing a review of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. You love this show. Season 3, Episode 2, entitled Wedding Bell Blues, written by Kirsten Beyer and David Reed, directed by Jordan Canning. What a deal. What a surprise. What luck. We have director Jordan Canning here today. How are you today, Jordan?
I'm great. I'm very happy to be here and talking about this episode. I love this episode.
Welcome back. So good to have you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I love this episode too. I mean, it was just like one big grand episode. I mean, you talk about wedding episodes, they're kind of like part of the Star Trek lore, these big, huge wedding episodes that are, a chance for everybody to get together, to see some awkwardness, to see some jokes.
Everybody dressed up in gorgeous outfits.
Man,
yes.
We'll talk about that for sure. Yeah. Oh, by the way, very quickly, everybody, very special thanks to Chris Garris and our friend Dave Gregory. Chris Garris is our friend too, for sponsoring this entire season of Strange New Worlds. Huge fans of Strange New Worlds. And David Ling for sponsoring this episode. Anyway, you were saying, Sirach?
Yeah, I just wanted to know a little bit about the preparation for this kind of an episode. You have the big set design, you have all the costuming. What was some of the stuff that you took priority with?
Yeah, I mean, it was a really big volume wall episode. We were on the AR wall for 5 days, which is quite significant for an episode. Usually it's only like 1 or 2 days. And the bulk of the episode takes place there. Also, huge numbers of cast. We had a full, I can't remember how many we had, maybe like 50 BG, all done up in the most amazing wardrobe. And a lot of them were in prosthetics. And so it was a lot of preparation, just getting ready for that. But as you know, like our wardrobe department is like the best in the biz.
This may have been the best I've ever seen.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. I remember when like even just the drawings started coming out, I was like, oh my God. Like Chapel's wedding dress was out of this world. Everybody
phenomenal.
Looked
so beautiful.
Stunning. Jess looked so beautiful. And in person, you were like, this is incredible. Everybody looked incredible. All the BG. Yeah, it was absolutely flawless. And the colors, it's so rich that, that the AR wall asset, the kind of Starbase platform that this wedding takes place at, is basically magic hour the whole time we're there as well. So it has this just beautiful golden glow the whole time. It feels so rich and yeah, romantic. It's a very romantic episode. So yeah, a lot of preparation for that. I would say the biggest preparation that went into that episode and into the season is all of the dance rehearsals that Ethan and Chrissy put in. They had to learn for this episode. They had to learn, essentially 3 different dances, 2 full choreographed dances with dialogue built into it, and then the kind of big final fun, the big fun final dance where everybody gets to let loose. Which I cannot wait for the season. I can't wait to be posting all my behind the scenes stuff, because I have like
wow.
thousands of photos and videos of everybody dancing. And yeah, it was so fun. I think that was one of my most fun nights, is when we shot that big final dance number and we just blasted the music, and Francois, our amazing ACAM operator, just put on the Steadicam and just kind of went into the crowd and moved it. And I was like watching the monitor, like jumping up and down. It was like a dream. Yeah, everybody killed it.
That was a beautiful final scene. But there was one thing you touched on, which was when Christina Chong and Ethan Peck as Spock and Laan were dancing, practicing their dance, and she was teaching him. And there was one moment there are quite a few moments that cracked me up. This was a very funny, very charming, beautiful episode. Can I just say, by the way, the rewatchability of this episode is off the charts. I feel like this is an episode you could watch a million times over.
Yeah, but it's like there was a warm hug.
There was this one moment where Christina Chong, she kind of, spins around and she ends up with her back to Spock. And then Spock's head pops out the side and delivers his line. And I don't know why that was such a beautiful little idea, whoever came up with that. Can you just talk about the two of them on set together and how fun that moment was?
I mean, it was so fun. And they worked so hard at, and you'll see as the season goes on, like the amount of physical work that the two of them put into this season is incredible. Because they're shooting all the time. It's not like they get big long stretches of time off. So they were doing rehearsals on the weekend, dance rehearsals, and we worked together, worked with our great choreographer and with our amazing, music supervisor to find the right tracks that had the right emotion to it and the right shape to it. And then we would kind of work together to be like, okay, well, where are the fun little moments? Because you need to find the places where the dialogue fits. They can't just be kind of dancing constantly, and you need to build, the romance within the dance. And so those little moments like that, I know exactly the moment you're talking about. It's like they have a kind of like shimmy to the side, shimmy to the other. And I remember also just going to the first rehearsal and watching Ethan dance as Spock was killing me.
That's
the episode
that was
opening.
My question. That was my question. How does you guys keep a straight face with Ethan doing his moves and his acting the way he did? I bust out laughing when I see him perform. I don't know if I could keep a straight face in a scene with him because he's just so funny. At actually not trying to be funny. It's the great balance that he mixes there.
It's very funny to see Spock have to do physical movements that Spock generally doesn't do. Like, whenever something's written in a script, it's like Spock hurries over here. I'm like, does Spock ever hurry? I don't know. It's hard to picture that. So getting him doing like the tango and doing like, I can't even remember the name of the other dance they were doing, but it was very funny. But he's just so dialed in. Both of them are so dialed in. And Chrissy, I think, was a big proponent of introducing dance into this season because she's an amazing dancer and performer in her own right, and was like, I can really dance. Maybe you guys want to utilize that. And so, they obviously, the writers jumped at the chance to do it and really built kind of a beautiful season-long storyline out of it.
Yeah, and I think there's, I don't want to get ahead of myself storyline-wise, but there was an element of chemistry between Spock.
Oh, there was
on there that when they were dancing.
You noticed.
Yeah, I noticed it. Yeah, and I was thinking to myself, they kind of fit together. And as I was watching them go back and forth, and this episode is actually one of the ones that people have been talking about. As far as like the build up point, because everybody says, "Hey, Nurse Chapel's going to." End up with Dr. Corby at some point, right?
And Corby shows up at this one. We get to meet him.
So this was the moment where where the fans get a little taste of, this is where it's going to divert to some degree. And so casting for Corby, was that what were the elements that you were looking for his character?
Well, I mean, Killian was cast before I came. I think they did like a pretty substantial search for him to find the perfect Corby, and they certainly did. So by the time I came onto the episode, he was already cast. Corby was.
Okay.
And he did so great. There was a lot of discussion early on of like, because he's Irish. That's his real accent and voice in the episode. But there was a lot of discussion of like, okay, well, should he be Irish? Should he be British? Should he have a kind of American accent? And in the end, we all were like, do your Irish accent. We love it. It gives him such a different energy than Spock. That was something we really leaned into. There was a line that we had in there that actually got cut, but I loved it. when they go to the pork alley and they're all having cocktails, and Chapel and Corby tell this really romantic story, and Spock has to kind of like listen to this beautiful love story, and he's just like dying on the inside.
Yes,
it actually cracked me up,
and I was laughing.
I felt like such a jerk that I'm cracking up at this guy.
Well, she told him not to wait. She said, "Don't wait for me," and he didn't listen. So it's a bit of his own fault. But you held the
camera on Spock's face during those moments. And it just, we felt him.
I know it's heartbreaking because he's like a teenage boy when it comes to love. Like, this was his first crush, essentially, But there was a scene after that got cut where it was him sort of sitting at the bar, nursing a drink, and Chapel comes up and sits next to him and says, "Hey, I'm sorry it went down like this. I think you'd actually really like Corby." And Spock goes like, "He is intelligent and kind and, very lovely. And he's also tall." And I love that. We really tried to like accentuate Killian, because Killian isn't that much taller than Ethan, but he is a little bit. And we sort of shot down on Ethan again, just to have these two men. You've got Corby with his open collar and his leather jacket, and then you have Spock like so buttoned up. And you see, like, I mean, if at least Chapel's not going for someone who's like Spock, she obviously is like into a very different flavor of man. So,
right.
Well,
this is why Spock was trying to decide which outfit to wear. That would have made a big difference.
I know, he picked the wrong shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, she was very gentle with Spock the whole time, letting him down. Like, hey, you'll be all right. It's it's not the end of the world. And I thought Jess Bush looked beautiful in this episode. I thought she performed excellently because she was balancing her own feelings and emotions as well as showing that kind of concern and empathy for Spock and how he felt. So I thought, that performance was excellent. But then when it got to the wedding scene, I thought, this is how you want, your bride to look. She was radiant. She looked so stunning walking into that set for that wedding scene.
It was amazing. The veil they built, the kind of sort of like almost like a amazing like cocoon, half cocoon that sort of stood up behind her. Amazing profile. And the wedding, those vows, like it's such a beautiful way, because I was lucky enough to kind of do the initial Spock and Chapel romance episode in season 2 where they finally kiss. And I love them together, even though, they're not going to end up together. But I think this was such a beautiful way to kind of let Spock say his kind of final expression of love to her and then let her go with like a clear heart. And I think that, the writers did such a beautiful job with this episode of just like walking that line of really like deep, beautiful love and respect, and also understanding like, okay, this is not my path and I'm happy for this person and I have to let them go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Another scene I have to add that I actually loved was the whole coming on the transporter room where she's with this Corby guy, right? And he's got the book in his hand. And Corby's like, "Oh, that's a great book," and this and that, and he's like, "Yeah, it's not for you."
He just yanks it out of it.
I love that you picked up on that, because that was something that Ethan did. The way he just did it in this one take. The way he takes it back, you go, "Oh no, he still isn't getting it."
Yeah,
he's like cringing for him, and like everybody knows what's going on except him. It just, I love that moment. Yeah,
it was beautifully awkward. That was one of the best scenes for sure. And I just want to add that in that scene, Martin Quinn, who had maybe one line or zero line,
great reaction.
He gave this amazing reaction that I had to rewind and watch like 3 times. So he's new to us, but we know he's got this great charm. He's got this great,
oh my God.
It seems like this talent, this knack for giving us what we want to see and for being hilarious in it. Can you tell us what he's like?
I keep all of us, obviously, because we've season 3, we shot it so long ago. Season 2, I keep forgetting. It just occurred to me like a week ago when Martin was posting, being like, "Look, see, I am in this show. Here's me in the trailer," and I was like, "Martin, nobody knows how amazing you are yet. He's going to be everybody's favorite. Martin Scotty is he's perfect. He's absolutely perfect. Everybody is going to lose their minds for him. I can't believe that he's only been in that one episode so far. Everybody's going to lose it.
Well, we saw him at the very end of season 2.
Yeah.
And it was evident immediately this kid's got it. We're like, okay,
perfect.
This guy's going to charm the pants off of all of us. He just seems perfect for it.
You're going to love him. He's got so much great stuff in that season and this season that we're currently shooting.
Wow.
Yeah, can't wait.
He's going to get very famous, I think. Yeah,
and well deserved.
Yeah,
I have a question. This is just my own personal curiosity. This bartender with the 3 arms. Now, what was the deal with that?
Edosian.
Adosian, yeah.
Was that on the spot film like that, or is there some CGI involved with that? Or?
There was so much involved with that.
Okay.
So,
right.
I mean, before I even started, I was hearing about this 3-armed Dosian that I believe only has existed in the Star Trek universe as an animated character.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
So everybody was jacked for this. And there was a whole plan. And my God, that's another thing. The rehearsals that went into it. So it's 2 actresses. So there's the actress in the prosthetics with 2 arms, and then another actress who's in green, but has 1 arm, the 3rd arm, and they had to coordinate kind of like a Siamese twin creature. So she was back here with the other arm, and they learned all of this flair bartending. So all of the stuff that's going on with the hands is happening, but they painted out our other, but they worked so hard. And I know that there was like thoughts of like, okay, because even in the script, I think it's still in the cut where they were like, hey, do you want to come work on a starship? Is that line still in there?
Yes, it's in there.
And I think there was some thought at one point of like, oh, she's going to be the new bartender at the pork alley. But it was so complicated to do. And also it takes up a huge amount of space. Like the pork alley bar is actually not... It's not conducive to 2 people back there throwing things around. So I'm so glad we got to feature her, and it was perfect for that kind of the extravagance of that space. But it was a lot to. That was
a whole nother choreography.
They worked a lot. There's a lot of choreography going on. Yeah.
Another thing that really impressed me. I mean, first of all, we already mentioned it, but the wardrobe, that may have been the best wardrobe I've ever seen in an episode of Star Trek. But on top of that,
the way all together, it looks like a painting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But on top of that, also, we're used to this with Strange New Worlds, but the visual effects that accompany it, like you have this amazing wardrobe that for a second, you don't even realize that there's this gigantic backdrop, right? The VR wall, you got this whole thing going on with ships flying by, and that looks incredible. You've got amazing production design. Are you able to really picture that when you're on set? Well, I guess with the VR wall, you really can, but do you really get the scope of it?
Yeah, honestly, I will say that is the thing about the VR wall is like you really feel, obviously like there was no, like this, it doesn't go all the way above, and there's some blue screen kicking around, but it really just feels like you're there in the environment. And it's a magical thing that it's the holodeck,
Mm-hmm. And did I hear John Delancey's voice?
You did.
Was Q himself in this thing? I mean, I could have swore it was him.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was another little nugget surprise that kind of threw me off. I was like, wow, I did not expect this in this episode.
Yeah.
Not much Pike in this one. So Anson kind of had the
light
episode
on Pike.
Off.
Yeah. Light on Pike had that the very fun bachelor party scene. And then I mean it's such a Spock and Corby unlikely duo trying to break everybody out of the spell. I also, another scene I love, and we got to talk about Trelain at some point, but
yes,
The other scene I love, who's another kind of great actor on this with Dan Janot as Sam Kirk, where he comes with the wine cart, being like, "You got to pick the wine for your wedding." I find that scene really charming too.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about Trelain. So Trelain, a lot of people have surmised might be a Q, but it's never been proven. It's never been a certainty. Now we finally hear John Delancey's voice saying, "Get your ass back in the house," right? Yeah. So that, again, it's not 100% confirmation, but it sure sounds like it is that Trelain is a Q. How fun was, what was the actor's name that played
Rhys
Q?
Darby.
That played Trelain. Yeah, he is phenomenal. Who is this guy?
You've never seen Rhys Darby before?
I don't think so.
No.
Rhys, he's a New Zealand actor. He was on like Flight of the Conchords is kind of where he first came up. But I got deeply obsessed with an amazing show called Our Flag Means Death.
Oh, then yes.
Yeah,
that's
like
a
the great
one.
Queer pirate show. I love it. I loved it so much. And whenever we were shooting this, so that was actually one of the last roles we cast. I think they had somebody attached, and then something fell through, and we were all on a Zoom call going, well, I got any ideas for Trelain? And I was like, I mean, it's Rhys Darby is like, he's that, like in Our Flag Means Death, he's basically that. They had already the drawings for him, and they had the big tails, and it's essentially what he wears in that pirate show. And I said it being like, obviously we'll never be able to get him, not thinking like, oh, I'm on Star Trek, not just like, anything else that I would work on. And they got him, and he was perfect. He even looks like the original guy.
He does. I actually
gave him the mutton chops and everything. Yeah,
like the original guy'd be a lot older by now, but he was so almost
probably dead.
Like on the nose. Yeah, he was so on the nose performance wise, though. It was like he nailed it.
He nailed it.
The whole kind of, because I watched that episode prior to this, me watching this one, so I could have that continuity. But there was a level of arrogance and annoyance, both of the two.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's like, this guy's annoying the hell out of me, and he's irritable, but he's also, has this arrogance and this flair, and he's flamboyant, so you kind of want to watch him a little bit, so you can't keep your eyes off of him.
Yeah, but he's like a pet. When you find out at the end, you're like, oh, he's like a petulant little kid. He's like a shitty little toddler, just kind of throwing a fit. But yeah, working with him was great. It was so fun to work with him. He's so great at improv. A lot of that big kind of like temper tantrum he throws at the wedding before the green orb dad shows up. That was improvised. Him like calling out the blue, the blue aliens.
Really?
Yeah.
The Bolians. Those are Bolians right there. But Jordan, I can't believe we're already out of time. This has been so much fun. You're more fun than the episode practically. We really hope to have you back sometime. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Yeah, I'd love to come back. Thanks for doing this. I love Trek,
so do we.
We loved your episode. Amazing episode. Obviously going to be memorable and part of the legacy, and I think it's a special thing that you were able to do this episode, which has got the crossover appeal from the original series. So, we're really bookending, 40, 50, 60 years worth of Star Trek now.
All right, everybody, stick around. We're going to gush over Jordan and this episode way more on the other side. We will be right back on The Seventh Rule. Well, hi there, everybody. Welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Sirach freaking Lofton.
Hello.
Here are the trivioids of the week. The battle scars of the Enterprise's encounter with the Gorn are all but erased. The Federation Day Centennial is the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Federation. It's probably kind of obvious. Laan is teaching Spock to dance. Laan wanted to be a prima ballerina. Spock has read a considerable amount of Roger Corby's papers on archaeological medicine. Captain Patel is shopping for a new starship. That was fun. The crew likes to have cocktails in the port galley. Captain Pike has a rehydrator in his quarters. And Trelain doesn't like it when people ruin his plans. Although, I don't think they said his name specifically, did they?
I don't think they said it was Trelain. No.
But I think we all kind of, I mean, it was Trelain.
Yeah.
It was Trelain. He is a Q. That was John Delancey. They don't say it, but let's just go ahead and say it. Yes, that's what the case is.
Yeah.
So I was not lying. Like, Jordan Canning is so much fun. She's awesome. She's amazing. But I was not lying to her when I said that the rewatchability of this episode, I believe, is off the charts. Like, I could honestly watch this episode again right now. And that's a very strong rarity for me, because usually I eat up the Star Trek episode, I'm really good, and I move on. This one made me laugh out loud several times, like actually out loud. And usually we don't actually laugh out loud. We usually just blow air through our nose, but but I actually was audibly laughing. I really laughed. Did any moments actually make you laugh? I mean, like Spock's heart breaking or Scotty's fun reactions?
Oh no, Spock made me laugh. Ethan made me laugh.
He's hilarious.
Like I said, when he had the book in his hand and he was like, "No, this is not for you." Yes, that moment had me laughing. The moment where she's telling the story about how he read the poem to her, and she fell in love on her mom's birthday or whatever it was. That whole spiel. I could see Spock. I saw Spock's face like, so you're telling me I missed out because I didn't da 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 whatever. Whatever I didn't do wrong, whatever I didn't do that this jerk did, So I felt for him, because I think we've all, at least to some degree or another, been at that place where it's like somebody you have a crush on or you like, and you just have to accept the fact that, they don't like you back the same way, or whatever that case may be. So really felt for Spock in those moments, but he played him so well. He was hilarious. Even when the guy, when Dr. Corby was in the Spock's quarters trying to convince him, like, yo, this thing is a dream, and like, this is not real. Like, I'm supposed to be with her.
Yeah.
Spock was getting visibly upset.
Yeah. And it was still hilarious. This may have been like, I'm like, is this the best? For me, this might have been his best performance. Maybe this one and the Freaky Friday episode with T'Pring, which was unbelievable. But he was able to just crack me up by being sad, which is hard to do because we feel like a monster laughing at this guy's heartbreaking, but it is just so funny watching him. I think what it is because we know exactly what he's going through, and we're watching it play out on his face extremely subtly, like Data, right? When we see a tiny little thing from Data, we crack up because we're like, I got you. I know you're feeling something. So good.
The other moment was when, Nurse Chapel was describing, the bracelet that had the moon, the stars, and the sun in it, or whatever it was, and Ortegas walks up and says, "Hey, that's a cool bracelet. Where'd you get it?" She's like, "Don't ask."
And Spock walks away. Oh, Spocky. Spocky.
Yeah, I thought that watching Spock completely get owned in this episode was classic.
You're a sadist.
So that I kind of am to some degree, but it's actually fantastic performance by Ethan. I mean, Ethan really, he knocked it out. He just made me laugh, and a lot of times without even dialogue, just off of his facial expressions, just off of the look on his face, because you could see him thinking like, this is really happening to me. Like, he was feeling sorry for himself. And in that way, that made me laugh,
Yeah. Yeah. And, for the second episode in a row, I was blown away by Jess Bush's performance. Like, this lady can act like nobody's business. Like when she walked up to Spock during their wedding ceremony, you know, she walks up and there's this nice close up on her face. And we're thinking it's going to be funny or it's comedic because there's all this other silliness that's going on. But it wasn't, because she's playing it real, like this in that character's mind. This is the most powerful and amazing and incredible moment of her life, and she played it like that. And it's just like, wow. Sometimes it seems like people could just grab this powerful emotion and pull it right up and just play it with their eyes, and she could do that. And I was just 100% blown away by her performance. I was like, wow, the camera is picking up something that she's dropping on all of our heads right now, and it's really good.
Yeah, I mean, she's just fantastic. It's, you know, she was a joy to watch in this episode. I thought, you know, found myself saying how beautiful she was several times. I was like, wow, she's beautiful. She's beautiful. And of course, you know, there's another thing. I think they came with some different hairstyles in this episode. We saw that she came in with the long hair, kind of signifying the kind of passage of time. It was kind of, you know, a different style than we saw prior.
Uhura too.
And long. Yeah. Uhura had several hairstyle change-ups. So yeah, there were a few hair, you know, renovations and remodeling for this episode, which I enjoyed. But back to Ethan, you know, when Ethan goes off and he's trying to get Sam Kirk to snap out of it, so he's trying to piss him off.
Yeah.
And he says, Sam, you are the sloppy, less intelligent than your brother. You know, he's trying to.
Yeah.
And then he goes on and says, no one likes your mustache. That had me laughing.
I thought he was going to swing right there, but it didn't work. I was like, man, what is this guy got to do?
I thought he was going to swing too. I was like, what is the thing that's going to provoke Sam Kirk to want to swing, right? And, you know, I guess they didn't have anything. But I thought there was going to be one nerve that, like, you can't talk about my mustache or, you know, whatever it was, you know. But he kept his cool in that moment. But again, I was laughing based off of Ethan's performance. You know, he was really trying to get under Sam's skin, and the way he was doing it was like, you know, somebody who doesn't have expertise in it. Like, you go smell your smelly farts. It wasn't one of those where it had.
I missed that line.
Yeah, that was a different episode. I got cut.
Yeah,
but
I also want to point out that we got a new character, Ensign Nurse Guy, but I don't think we got his name. I was listening for it, but I don't think we got it. I was also noticing, I was like, wow, what a nice crew. Like, this dude's brand new and they're already inviting him on the cool kids table. You know, I was like, whoa, Nurse Ensign Guy gets invited to the cool kids club at the Port Galley. So he must be a pretty cool guy. I want to know his name, though. I'd love to know what his name is.
I thought they could have just dropped a quick little name in there. She did say, Una called him Ensign, but she didn't elaborate on his full name.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we want to know that thing, and especially when you make it look like he has been there taking the place of Chapel in her absence. So I guess we're assuming it's been months. Right?
3 months is what they said. It had been 3 months.
Okay, so yeah,
I didn't catch it at first, but I had to rewind it, and then I heard it. It had been 3 months.
Okay, so I missed that. So there were 3 months that had passed. So you would think, all right, well, 3 months, this new guy's been around and, you know, he's endeared himself to the crew. Then maybe somebody have a nickname for him or know his name.
Yeah, so we got a new nurse and we got a new bartender. That would be cool.
Yeah, that bartender was really cool. And, you know, it actually answered one of the things that I always I'm like, why do we always have these aliens that have 2 arms, 2 legs? And, you know, there should be some variation there, and they did it with this character. I thought that's cool. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, so the first Edosian was in the animated series in the 1970s.
They're called Edosians?
Yeah, Edosians. His name was Arex. I'll pull up a picture of him. Arex. There he is. He kind of replaced Chekhov in Star Trek the Animated Series. Now, if you'll notice, his arm comes out of the front, whereas her arm came out of the back. So I was wondering, I said, okay, are they changing that up, or is it just that the male of the species have it coming out of the front, the female species have their arm coming out of the back, or is it just like a mix? It's like, Edosians on the West Coast have, their third arm coming out of there, or whatever it is. Also, we saw one Edosian one time in an episode of Lower Decks as well. Those are the only times we've ever seen them. So in animated series, only this is the first time we've seen it in live action.
I thought it was an interesting character. I mean, I felt like they could have done that years ago, and we could have seen that. I mean, why not have some variety there? I keep going back to Ethan because I was really taken by his performance. Another moment there when I thought was funny when he's in that scene. He punches Dr. Corby. Corby wakes up, and then they start to have the discussion about this is not the actual reality that they woke up into a different reality. And Spock is trying to figure out how Dr. Corby wasn't affected by this illusion. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Corby says, maybe it's because of my strict intellect. And Spock looks at him, like, he's like, what? He makes this reference. I forgot what he said.
Yeah, what was the line? Because it was a really good line, so I did write it down.
Yes.
He says, here it's coming, I'm going to find it. He says, if one of our intellects could bestow immunity, I'm confident it would not be yours. It's like, damn, Spock, the guy's being nice to you.
Seriously. He's really being nice. And Spock does that's a Vulcan dig, It's like, that's how a Vulcan would clown you, not in the way we talk to each other, but in that kind of intellectual way.
It's a very Leonard Nimoy Spock kind of line too, for sure. But what also makes really good writing is the obvious answer is we're rooting for Spock. We're rooting for Spock and Chapel to get together. We got this new guy coming in who got the girl. We don't like that. The obvious answer would be to make him kind of a jerk or make him smarmy or make him unlikable or whatever. But the smart answer, and what good writers do, is you make him a nice guy, a good guy, a cool guy, a regular, that makes it even harder to dislike him, which creates actually more emotional conflict than if he's a jerk, it's too easy. You're like, oh, I don't like this guy. But if you want to dislike him and Spock wants to dislike him, but he can't because he's actually a good guy and he's a smart guy and he's a respectable guy, that's actually really good writing. So big applause to them for that. That was really smart, and then makes Spock have this inner conflict that he's just like, oh, God, why does this guy have to be so nice? Ugh.
Yeah. And that's what Jordan was talking about the line that got cut, which is, and he's tall too, like I hate him for every reason. He's got
that's a really good line. I'm sad they took that out. That is a really good line.
Yeah. So I thought that he did a great job guest starring in this episode. It's hard to come on. First of all, we've been rooting for Chapel and Spock to get together.
Yeah.
And so and actually I found myself diverging from that initial feeling of that. Like, I know they've been building that up and we've seen that with their chemistry, but as I was watching this episode, I actually felt like he matches better with Laan.
Me too. I'm like, you know what, bro? You're going to land on your feet. And not just because you're a stallion, because you're more like a sad puppy right now, but because Laan is badass. She's teaching him. She's cool. She's collected. She's friendly. She's compassionate, even though she's tough. And she was really clever and charming at the end there, where she kind of starts saying, oh, your shoulders are measured precisely and all this and that. And that was adorable. It was charming. And it's Laan coming. That's two people coming out of their shells right there,
Mm-hmm.
But then the question is, and so shout out to Christina Chong, fantastic. But then the question is, didn't she have a little something for James Kirk when they went into the past in the first season or second? It's tough to tell because it was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, but they that was a one night. That was like a fling that they decided to both let go of.
But she sang about it too in one episode, so she's still like, "Oh, I miss him."
It's just funny because you mentioned singing. They referred to the singing episode in this episode. Yeah. Another thing I like they do when they do kind of make references to things that we've seen before. But yeah, you know what? When you're out in space, you know, things get complicated, and you know, you might hook up with somebody.
In space, you know, it's the space that you know how it goes out in space.
Yeah, you know, your libido is on a different level of wavelength. Look, I think that she matches up well with
Absolutely.
Spock, and I thought the chemistry between them is actually to some degree better than the chemistry between him and Chapel. Chapel's like, get away from me. That's enough. Okay, don't be weird. And and with her,
Laan's like, hey, let's be weird. See what happens.
Yeah, she's like, you're weird. It's cool. I like it. Yeah, I get it. And so I think like, he's just going through that phase, like Jordan was talking about. You know, that crush, that first crush, your first love. You get your heart broken, and then you have to move on. What I think is going to end up playing out, and this is just me, you know, making my own predictions and as a nosy viewer, but I do think that not only will Spock end up kind of, you know, with Laan to some degree or another as a couple, but I think Nurse Chapel may regret this moment in losing Spock. I think it's going to come back around where perhaps things, you know what I mean, where she might look at
because it all happens so fast. When things happen really fast, sometimes it doesn't have the amount of time that it needs to really mature, to really grow, you know, at its pace.
Sometimes,
but maybe it'll be, you know. But then sometimes people meet and 2 days later propose and get married, and they're happily ever after. So you never know. But
yeah, and I wanted to also we went back and I talked about the scene with Spock and Dr. Corby when they made that intellect joke, right? And he says, you know, if anybody had an intellect, it wouldn't be you. But then Dr. Corby looks over at Spock and does the eyebrow raise to him, like, what are you talking about? And then Spock does the eyebrow raise back to him, and they both share an eyebrow raise moment. I thought that was well done as well. You know, I thought that was a good moment.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's similar to a butterfly kiss. The butterfly kiss is kissing someone with your eyelash. They shared an eyebrow raise. It's like it's the cousin of the butterfly kiss.
The Vulcan butterfly kiss. Okay.
Speaking of butterfly kisses, finally, our girl Uhura is getting a little attention here. She had a little bit of fun with Ortegas's brother. His name was, she called him Beto, but I don't know if that's Roberto or Alberto or Humberto, but we know it's something like that. I don't know if we got his full name. I was listening for it. I may have missed it.
I didn't even hear Berto's, Joe. You were better than me on that.
Beto, yeah, it was real quick. I had to rewind to hear it. So that's really cool. It's great to see her happy and having fun. And it's cool to give Ortegas a little bit more depth because now we've met her brother. Now we also know that she has something haunting her. Was that a Gorn at the very end, kind of haunting her? And
I think she's got a Gorn in her. I think she's got some Gorn in her mirror.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know what that means, but there's something going on. Yeah, she needs to wash that window.
Yeah, definitely foreshadow for the next what's to come. But you know, did get a little slice of life with her and her brother. I like to see that scene. I actually thought it was interesting that for very few times, usually Star Trek is the the vehicle by which innovation is extracted from. So Star Trek brings something to the screen, and then you know, real life somehow finds a way to mimic it, emulate it, or actually bring it into existence. But in this case, I thought this was interesting because there were those little flying cameras in a bubble that were going around recording everything by remote control. And I thought,
It's a
isn't
good
that a
idea.
drone?
Yeah.
No, I'm saying that's a drone, though.
It is a drone for sure. But like the bubble I was saying. But yeah, no, that's a drone. Drone
Yeah,
camera.
so basically, this is one of the few cases that I can remember in which Star Trek is borrowing from existing, like the drone cameras already exist, and now they're taking that and implementing it into the Star Trek world,
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
But as opposed to the opposite other way around, where the world actually extracts from Star Trek. So this is one case in which I saw them borrowing from our own real life experiences of having drone camera footage.
hmm Star Trek still hasn't leaned into the internet yet, but they will. They're still carrying things around in like pads and chips and floppy disks and stuff. Also want to give a shout out to Battelle and Pike. As you mentioned, Pike didn't get a ton, but they had some good moments. Battelle is cool. It's great to watch her. She's got this confidence and this charm, and she and Pike, it feels like their days are numbered, but maybe it just feels that way and it's actually not going to happen. But it feels like, she didn't die like we thought she might. Pike supposedly is going to lose half his face or whatever. So it just feels like they're doomed. Maybe it's just that I'm just already sad that this series is going to end in 3 seasons. Like it already feels sad. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I think they're setting something up. You mentioned that, and my spidey senses are like, what? Why is she so featured in this 3rd season? It feels like we just we're in 2nd episode, but it feels like this Battelle she's been around since the 1st season, right?
Don't tell Pike that.
Yeah, not like that, but I feel like she wasn't really that much featured in up till now. I feel like she's been in the background. They bring her out every once in a while, and they have a date scene or whatever. But
yeah,
I never felt their relationship as something constantly on the foreground of this show. It felt like it was way in the background. And somehow now in this 3rd season, they've decided to emphasize their relationship a lot more than they have in the past. And it seems like I see them together more often than I did, for any occasion except for the 1st season.
It does feel like they're setting up like a tragedy or something, whether it's a breakup or a death or something. It almost feels like something snake bitten, where we're just like expecting the worst out of them for some reason. I don't know what it is, but that's
I don't know
the
what it
feeling
is
we
either.
get.
But they keep bringing it up, and they keep saying, what about the ship and this and that. So I do feel like there's some setup from their side to get us to care about her character more than we have in let's say in the 2nd season. You know what I mean? So they're setting us up.
So 2 episodes in, what do you think of Scotty? I love him.
Yeah, I want more Scotty. I mean, I feel like I don't get enough. It was interesting because in this episode, he said 2 things that were like conflicting to me. At one point, Scotty says, "Oh no, thank you. I don't really drink." That was at the bachelor party. They were trying to offer him some drink, and he's like, "No, thank you. I don't really drink." But then at the very end, he orders 2 pints of Guinness, and so I'm like, "Do you not really drink, or do you like to drink Guinness?" Yeah, I mean, it's one or the other, right?
He's like, "Well, now it's breakfast time." So,
and then I also thought, how cool is that Guinness got a NAM in this episode? This is the first time they've actually named a drink that exists.
Yeah.
Right?
A brand,
outside of water, I mean, like
an actual brand. Yeah.
An actual brand. Guinness, they mentioned Guinness in this episode. So presumably Guinness will be around for the next 500 years. So you might want to buy stock now, guys.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And really, another person got a NAM. I mean, Guinness isn't a person, but when you mention non-appearance mentions, Robert April got a non-appearance mention, so that was cool. got a good one there for him. They just
April?
Yeah, that's the admiral. And Battelle said,
okay.
She said something like, "Oh yeah, April says I can get my pick of any ship in the fleet," or something like that. But then she was like, doesn't know if she wants to go or whatever. But so he got a non-appearance mention, which was really cool. We're just about out of time here, but I think we kind of covered everything. It was strange that that Trelain was first a Vulcan and then he was an Andorian. It was kind of like, this guy is wacky. But then when they looked at him, like Spock, when he looked at him, he saw a Vulcan. Remember, he called him a Vulcan. And I think it was Pike called him an Andorian. I'm like, they're just seeing him as a different guy. It's really interesting and peculiar.
Yeah, I couldn't get that part. Actually, I didn't even, just until you said it, even register that. Because I kept saying, why do they keep calling him Andorian? Like, I'm not seeing an Andorian with my own eyes. Then I thought, well, maybe Andorians look different in Strange New Worlds.
No, you saw his reflection in like a pad for like a second. I had to rewind and watch that. So I'm like, so are we seeing him for what he really looks like? But they were all seeing him as an Andorian. Spock was seeing him as a Vulcan for some reason. It was a little confusing, but obviously it adds to, this strange guy and what he can do, kind of a trickster. But
yeah.
Okay, so this was a lot of fun. One more thing. Battelle says she was wondering about Pike moving in with her, and she says, "But where will all your hair products go?" And then when Una said, when the nurse was invited to stay on the ship, and he says, "Please tell me this isn't a cruel joke," and Una says, "We are big on cruel jokes, but not this time," or something like that. I was like, that actually made me laugh out loud. That was very funny too. A lot of laugh out loud moments, a lot of fun. Here are some other people.
We got a NAM for Tribbles too.
Yeah.
He said count Tribbles then or something.
Yeah, like
telling them to go to sleep. Yeah.
So here are some other people that are a lot of fun and that like to count Tribbles. And their names are, in alphabetical order, not really, Dr. Anne-Marie Seagull, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackman, Tom TJ, Jackson Bay out in Missouri, Titus Moeller, Dr. Mohammed Noor, Anil O. Palat, Joe Balsarati, Mike Gu, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, V. Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Jake Barrett, Henry Unger, Allison Leach Hyde, Julie Manosfi, Jed Thompson, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, Glenn Iverson, Dave Gregory, Chris Sternett, Greg K. Wickstrom, Cassandra Gerard, Chuck A., Chris Garris, Mark Zutkoff, Lamaya Lancaster, Sean Mouch, Amiram Mizne, and of course, Jason M. Oken. All right, that's it for us. This was a lot of fun, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I wanted to ask Jordan what kind of whose dog that was that they used on this episode.
Yeah, because we know that they used Christina Chong's dog in at least one episode.
Yeah.
Runa, I think is the dog's name.
Yeah, I was wondering whose dog that was, but we'll find out later.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks very much for hanging out with us. We will see you next time. And until then, always remember the 7th rule.